The band who made the most mysterious song on the internet has been found, is the subject line to a lot of emails that I've received in the past couple months. Personally, I'm not convinced, but a lot of people are, so I'm gonna lay out the case for it and see what you think. Additionally, there have been a lot of developments regarding the search through the NDR radio archives, including one clue from the original recording that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. Of course, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or you just want to freshen up on the topic, I suggest watching my other videos about the song first. And all that being said, for this episode of Tales from the Internet, let's take 2021's first look at the most mysterious song on the internet. This video is sponsored by Omaze. Omaze is running a promotion where you can win $20,000 for your dream PC. Have the chance to buy top-of-the-line gear including monitors, headsets, more RAM that you know what to do with, top-of-the-line video cards. Me personally, I'd spend it souping up the most powerful PC imaginable, because I need that for my 16 hours a day scrolling through Twitter doing nothing, right? And donations will support a couple of great charities. The Bungie Foundation works to transform care for pediatric patients and reduce distress and suffering in children through entertainment. They give back through their hospital-based iPads for Kids program and are working to develop a new digital experience app that will serve as a patient's friendly companion from the moment they enter the hospital to the moment they leave. Children's Miracle Network Hospitals raises funds for 170 children's hospitals that support the health of 10 million kids each year across the US and Canada. They fund critical life-saving treatments and healthcare services, along with innovative research, vital pediatric medical equipment, child life services that put kids and families' minds at ease during difficult hospital stays, and financial assistance for families who cannot otherwise afford these health services. To potentially win $20,000 for your ultimate computer setup and to help support these great charities, go to omaze.com/wang. A couple months ago, a hot lead emerged in the search for the most mysterious song on the internet, with many people going so far as to declare that the mystery had been solved. And the band that did it is a Greek band from the 80s called Statues in Motion. According to Geheimnis Records, the label that reissued the 30th anniversary edition of their self-titled album, the band was formed in 1981 and consists of Vasilis Paliokostas, who went by the name Billy Knight, George Dalambiras, who went by the name Alvin Dean, and Ilias Mitsakis, who went by the name Eli Kane. A crew of musicians who knew each other from various bands in the Greek music scene of the 80s and eventually came together to form this synth-pop project. They were signed to Minos EMI Records after a producer was impressed by their music, but ultimately, financially disputes with the label caused their album to sit on the shelf for more than a year and a half, being released Christmas of 1983 despite having been finished in mid-1982. And it's a shame because it's a really good album with a very unique sound. But the stagnation and frustration that comes from a situation like that caused them to dissolve the band and go their own separate ways by the time the album actually came out. And Geheimnis' 2013 reissue of this album includes a re-recorded song that was lost from the original recording. No, it's not the mysterious song, it's another song called Pinky Complex. Statues in Motion isn't a new lead by any means. In fact, the band's Statues in Motion was actually suggested in the comments of Blue's original post looking for the band all the way back in 2007. It was then ruled out by a member named Juga, the same user who suggested them. Presumably, it's because the song wasn't present on their one released album. Wouldn't it be some shit if the answer was sitting there right from the start? Well, much more recently, in the process of going back and double checking every old lead, Gabriel Vieira, who you might remember kind of restarted the search a couple years ago, contacted several of the members from these bands, one of these members being Billy Knight from Statues in Motion. When asked about the song in July of 2019, Billy had this to say: "No, it's not, but I formed Statues in Motion. Oh, the vocals are so identical, we are searching for the song about 13 years. Sorry, wish I could help." No problem. Thank you for your answer. By the way, your SIM album is very nice. Thank you so much, my new band Astronaut, it's wilder. Around the same time, Valenips, the YouTube channel that uploaded the full Statues in Motion EP, also contacted Billy, who according to them said no, he never heard the song before. Thus, Statues in Motion was scratched off the list. But as is the nature of this search, over time more and more new people get attracted to it and start to go along these old threads again. I'm sure it'll happen again after this video. In this case, an investigator named Camspiracy began to once again look into the abandoned Statues in Motion lead. He too reached out to Billy, but this time he got a different answer. In Facebook messages, Billy now said that this song was one of 2 songs from the Statues in Motion album that didn't get published, the other being the aforementioned Pinky Complex. He claimed that the mysterious song had no name since it was never published, despite Pinky Complex, which also wasn't published, having a name. He also noted that the song was recorded in 1982, and here is one of the major points of contention. You see, it's been widely believed that the synthesizer used in this song is a Yamaha DX7. Here's how the synth sounds in the song. For comparison, a Redditor named Hornaz69 made a video playing along to the song with an actual DX7. In particular, if you listen to the part where the notes are held out, this is more than just a case of the synth sounding similar. This is an exact match. This is a preset sound on the DX7, a synthesizer that was not released until 1983, a year after the song was supposedly recorded. That might not seem like much, but it's important to understand with the synthesizers of this time, it's not as simple as just downloading some patches for Ableton and boom, you got the sound. These are all instruments that have their distinct characteristics that are really difficult to replicate. Even modern attempts to recreate them digitally are far from perfect. And that's when you're trying to do it on purpose. Imagine getting the sound that exact on another synth without having even heard the DX7 before. I mean, I guess it's possible that they happen to sit down and manually adjust an older synth in a way that just happened to exactly reproduce a sound that they could not have possibly ever heard before because it didn't exist. But what are the odds of that happening? I mean, at this point, we're in dream speedrun levels of luck, perhaps even luckier than that. Furthermore, in his interview with Cam, Billy claims to have used a Yamaha CS15 on the recording, which, according to some, physically cannot produce this sound, no matter what you do. That being said, Camspiracy actually did manage to track down the inventor of the DX7, John Chowning, who he asked about it. John Chowning, being 86 years old now, wasn't comfortable trusting his ears to the task, so he referred him to Don Lewis, who was also involved in its creation. Don Lewis said he wasn't sure. If I had to guess here, I would say that Don Lewis didn't, sit down with the DX7 and learn the song and compare them side by side. Or perhaps he didn't feel comfortable ruling out the infinitesimally small chance that someone recreated this exactly without knowing about it. Just before going live, I was shown an altercation Billy had in a YouTube comment section with someone regarding a spectral analysis that had been done to the recording of the mysterious song. Please see this, how did you convert the CS15D from monophonic to duophonic in order to play the last 2 notes simultaneously with perfectly aligned LFO modulation? To which Billy says, it's getting boring and annoying, the whole situation. Please see, correct, avoiding valid questions is pretty boring, both to do and to witness. Billy, I'm not avoiding anything, I played it 38 years ago. If I still had the instrument, I'd tell you precisely. But now I know your drive, you are one of those who try to prove me wrong, so I don't play your game anymore, pal. Billy Knight, and by the way, who are you? A musician, a producer, a YouTube spokesperson? Who exactly? Please see. I'm a guy who is interested in finding out the truth about the mysterious song. Part of it is asking valid questions if claims are inconsistent. You claim the song, so you'll have to tolerate the inquiry. There are a few reasons why the synth on the recording was not the Yamaha CS15D. I was hoping that you could provide an explanation. Instead, you just get personal. The reasons are: 1. Spectral analysis shows the last two notes on the recording ring simultaneously, but the CS15D was a monosynth. It could not have been an overdub, because the modulation of both notes is exactly in phase. 2. There are changes in modulation over time, high-pitched note and the LFO vibrato fade-in, which must have been made while also playing the keyboard and reversed simultaneously and instantly upon hitting the next note. That specific, impossible modulation matches the factory preset of a massively popular 80s synth, the DX7, down to the exact preset LFO rate. Billy, you don't know shit about the instrument. I don't think you know anything about the subject. Thus your question, for a minute, I took you seriously. Again, nothing but personal attacks. Billy, you make it personal. On Campspiracy's YouTube channel, he would later speak to Billy in his first English language interview. The interview contains some clarifications, but also some new discrepancies with his old story. For example, the number of lost songs from this album has now ballooned from 2 to 5. And when he's asked about the names of the songs, he remembers 3 of them: Pinky Complex, Broken Dreams, and Like the Wind. Except previously in Facebook messages, he said that Like the Wind didn't have a title because it wasn't published. These 5 songs, despite being recorded in the same session, didn't make the album because there is no room on the LP for them. That being said, the runtime of the album is a little bit over 39 minutes. A vinyl LP can fit about 44 minutes of music without compromising the sound quality. So there could have been room for 1 or 2 more songs, and you got 5 of them. This has caused some people to speculate about whether or not Billy is lying, or if he's misremembering, or why he would lie, or why he wouldn't lie. Some think it's a scheme to promote his new band. Others think he wouldn't dare risk his reputation, and they think musicians don't lie. I don't necessarily think it's productive to accuse people of things without evidence, or to try and figure out what's going on in someone else's head. It's important to consider that he's an older guy trying to piece together things that happened 40 years ago. He's lived more life after this song than before it. To put it this way, I am significantly younger than Billy, and clearly by the nature of this channel, I have an obsessive memory about certain things. In high school, I recorded a 5-song demo with this guy named Moose. I don't have it anymore, and I haven't seen that thing in forever. Although I clearly remember Moose carting out this vintage Marshall amp, and I'm trying to get a modern metal sound out of it, and he's like, "What are you talking about? There's not enough gain on here, it's plenty." I could remember some of the songs that were on this recording, but I probably couldn't tell you exactly which 5 they were. And that's a much shorter period of time that Billy's trying to think of. So he may not be being intentionally deceptive. These are just probably things he hasn't really thought about in a very long time. But either way, this has demonstrated that we can't take his words at face value. I think perhaps the most telling piece of evidence we can look at is simply the songs themselves. The vocalists do sound remarkably similar. But absolutely every other component of it isn't really matched up. While the most mysterious song is heavily guitar-driven, most of the Statues in Motion songs are synth-based. And when guitar does appear in the songs, the style and the tone are very different. The album also uses a drum machine throughout, whereas the most mysterious song uses real drums. Recording real drums is a much more difficult, time-consuming process than using a drum machine. Probably even more so in those days. You mean to tell me that a band went through all of this extra trouble to set up natural drums for this one song that doesn't really fit with the rest of their album, and after all that, they don't even include it? Not to mention, the mysterious song is so much more poppy and simplistic than the rest of the Statues in Motion album. It's the kind of thing that you specifically write for the intention of it being the radio hit that gets people to buy and listen to the rest of the album. Why would you not include that? Maybe that did happen, but to me it seems kind of unlikely. Another theory that's emerged is the vocalist of Statues in Motion, Alvin Dean, had another project after the band, particularly because of how the vocals sound like him but nothing else really does. And also partially because in one of Billy's earlier messages with Cam, he says Alvin made the song. And while Alvin did have a project before Statues in Motion named Homicide, he wasn't known to have done anything after. In fact, it's unclear whether or not he's still alive. In some of Billy's messages to Cam, he alludes to the fact that he had lost touch with Alvin and would like to hear from him. He thought that he might come out for the re-release, but no such luck. But this contradicts something that Billy said in a statement about the reissue of the self-titled album on the record label's website. This piece has since been deleted, but here's what it said. Vasilis Paleokostas, Billy Knight, George Dalambiras, Alvin Dean, Ilias Mitsakis, Eli Kane. George, of Greek-Australian origin, is no longer among us, according to Vasilis. He dedicates this reissue to him. Good chap, he says, although down on his luck. Now, no longer among us could be some quirk of the translation, but then going on to dedicate the album seems a bit unambiguous. And this wasn't the only instance of people thinking Alvin was dead, including one who was surprised that Billy didn't say anything about Alvin being dead. In any case, Cam has set up an email for the search for Alvin Dean. If you have any clues about his whereabouts, send a message to findalvindean@outlook.com. So could the band be Statues in Motion? I guess it's possible, but there's really as much concrete evidence for them being the band as there is any of the countless people that have told me their dad made the song. Ultimately, to prove this once and for all, we'd either need to have some kind of physical evidence, perhaps in the form of a recording or something like that, or something to tie it to that original radio broadcast that Darius recorded all those years ago. And on that front, some progress has been made. The NDR archivists have come back with the logs from Music for Junge Leute for both 1983 and 1984, with only the last 2 weeks of 1983 missing. The logs didn't end up revealing the song, meaning that either it wasn't written down for some reason, it appeared in the last 2 weeks of 1983, or it aired on a different show. That being said, a Discord user named Fleer came up with a discovery that will greatly narrow down this search. He realized that in the spectrogram for every single recording attributed to NDR2 broadcasts, there is a line at 10 kilohertz. This line has not been found in recordings from any other radio station that they checked, including the other stations that Darius was known to have listened to. This line is present in the recording of the most mysterious song on the internet, meaning that it must have come from NDR2. This is especially helpful since NDR has expressed their commitment to getting to the bottom of this mystery. They recently ran a short documentary on local TV. In the clip, Paul Baskerville suggests that he thinks it might have been a demo, maybe one of the ones they used to promote shows at the local venue Logo, which funny enough was the venue I played like maybe 10 years ago when my old band went to Hamburg, Germany. The short video concludes saying that the archivists Sonke True and Rüdiger Kalinen are still searching. For them, it's a matter of honor, because the NDR archive doesn't forget anything. Hopefully that's true. But anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, check out my series on a mystery that actually did get solved, Gitas. And also, don't forget omaze.com/wang. I'm out.